Elizabeth Connell, and today I'm joined by Julia Van Wagenen. Did I say that right?
Pretty close. Van Wagenen.
Van Wagenen. Okay. And she is a community outreach specialist with Abbey Care.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. So, how wonderful is your program? Oh my gosh.
It is,
I
it's an
love
amazing program.
Please tell us all about it. I've been looking at your website, and of course, we've talked about this before, but this is amazing. So
Yes.
I'm just going to let you run with it.
Yeah, that works. We are a family CNA program. I guess I should actually broaden that a little bit. We are a family caregiving, paid family caregiving program. So we do family CNA, where families with children with special needs or disabilities can get their CNA license and then they can get paid to care for their child. Every child qualifies for a different number of hours, just really depends on what those needs are. That can be anywhere from 2 hours a day to 12 hours a day or beyond. Those needs are going to be really within the ADLs, whether that's mobility, feeding, toileting, bathing, all that good stuff. So we provide that CNA course to our families for free. And then once they get through that course, we hire them on and provide that for them. We also have a big community, so we don't want our families to really feel like they are just another number in the system. So we provide community for our families, giving them the opportunity to meet others in the same circumstances that they're in. We have an online community where families can reach out and say, "Hey, I'm going through a tough time right now," and other people can reach out and provide that support. We have a big resource hub on that online community. And then we host family events for our families all the time. So I literally just came from one, Coffee and Connection, where we invite our families to come and we provide them lunch. We'll buy them lunch, buy them coffee, and just give them kind of a space to really connect with one another. We do that on a monthly basis. We also have all sorts of different other events like pottery painting and events at the Children's Museum and so forth. We serve children from 21 and below. So we cover, kind of through that transition period as well. And we are here in Colorado Springs, we are in Denver, we're down in Pueblo, we're in 16 counties throughout the state. So we can really help as many people as we can. And we also just started doing IHSS as well. So that
Yeah.
is also another paid family caregiving, where families currently on the CES waiver or HCBS waiver, excuse me, can get paid for that family caregiving and does not require a certification for that. And cool thing is, in July, the state is opening that up to be available for anybody on Medicaid, not just on waivers.
Oh my gosh, that is so wonderful. I love the fact that you provide support to families and the opportunity to meet other families that are also needing your services and to share their experiences.
Yes,
That's so
absolutely.
valuable. So,
It's huge. I think it's a important piece because, getting a diagnosis in and of itself is overwhelming, let
mhm.
alone going to doctor's appointments, therapy appointments, all sorts of stuff. It can become very isolating. So giving families a space to be and to be welcomed and feel comfortable sharing their stories is a beautiful thing.
It's so important. And I am curious, it sounds like they need to start with the TRE process. Is that correct? Because of the waivers, or are there other ways that they can
Sure,
have
yeah.
those available?
So not necessarily as far as family CNA goes. Anyone who is on Medicaid, if their child qualifies, they can start the CNA program. They do not have to be on a waiver. That is open to anybody on Medicaid. As far as IHSS goes, right now it is via waiver. So, like I said, it's waiver right now, but starting in July, that piece will also be open to anybody on Medicaid.
That is a really smooth sounding process then.
Yes.
That's fantastic. It
Yes.
makes
It's
it
nice
not only
to have that.
accessible, but yeah.
Yes.
And you already answered my question about what ages. And you said you're in so many different counties. We are looking for services in our community of El Paso County, and we serve eastern districts and those here in Colorado Springs. So I think we talked about that, and that you do have capacity to help people in the Eastern Plains as well. Is that
Yes.
true? Okay.
Yes, yes, for the most part. So once we start getting too far past El Paso County, on the
Yeah.
northern side, we have coverage. On the northeast side, a little bit more on the southeast side, it's a little tough. That said, we are working on growing our capacity. So still please reach out, because if we have a nurse that's available, then we will start working on getting approved in those counties as well.
Oh my gosh, that's so fantastic, because I think a lot of people really don't know how to get what they need for their children when they're further out there, and transportation is a barrier. And this just brings so many possibilities back to the family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another
So,
piece that I would love to talk about is we really do our best to provide wraparound support for our families. So we have family advocates that reach out to our families while they're going through the program weekly, just to really build that rapport and answer any questions they have and really help them find whatever resources they need. And then they reach out on a monthly basis, once they are providing care for their kiddos, providing that paid care for their kiddos. We reach out on a monthly basis for that check-in of what do you need? How can we support? Whether that is helping finding, food banks in the
uh,
area, or respite places, or even therapy places. We do everything we can to really help provide that wraparound support for our families.
oh my gosh, I had no idea. You did so much.
Yeah.
That's just invaluable. So how do families begin the process with you? Is this, I see so much information on your website right now.
Yeah,
And of course, videos like these and just talking about services.
absolutely.
We will give contact information following this segment of the video
Yep.
for you and Abby Care.
Perfect.
But what does that process look like as they begin?
Yeah, absolutely. So, typically what happens is they will fill out a 5 question questionnaire that is going to ask name, phone number, email address, age of your kiddo, and how you heard about us. And from there, they receive a text message almost instantly saying, thanks so much for asking for information. And then we schedule a time to call that works around their schedule. We make our phone calls 7 days a week till 8 p.m. So really trying to make that available for our families. We do a lot of our communication via text. We find that our families really prefer text, just because sometimes it's easier to send a quick text message back than answer a phone call, when you don't know if that phone call is going to be a 20-minute phone call or what that might be. So we definitely schedule around their needs. The first phone call is an intake call, which is about 15 to 20 minutes, where we ask questions about very basic questions, very broad questions about the needs of their kiddo. And then, some demographic questions as far as address, phone number, contact information, and so forth. And then our nurses will review the basic information there and see if, just based on some of that information, if they believe they will qualify. If they do if they believe that they will, then they will go on to connect with our nurse and do what's called a PAT. They go through the pediatric assessment tool created by Medicaid. We do that via Zoom, just like we're doing right now, because we understand that, again, sometimes it's hard for families to get out of their house and come to a location to do those interviews. So that is about 45 minutes to an hour, where the nurse asks more in-depth questions to really determine how many hours that their kiddo might qualify for. And then once we're at that point, if they qualify for a certain amount of hours, then we get them started in that process right away, and they can start their CNA course immediately. It is a self-paced online course, so they can do that work at home. We provide everything that they need: iPad scrubs, textbook, lab kit, all the things that they need to get through that course. There's 16 hours of labs, 16 hours of clinicals that are in person. It's mandated by the state because they are receiving an actual CNA license. Um, Again, we pay for all of that, but we typically from ask for information to start of program is right around 15 days, 15 to 20 days. And, our fastest was actually 18 hours. A lot of times we're just waiting on documentation from therapists or doctors or others. So
Wow, that is fast.
it
That
is
is
fast. Yeah,
unheard of. It seems like we have a very smart world, but a lot of slow processes.
that is
So
fact.
good to hear. Are there any favorite success stories that you'd like to share, about a family or somebody that you served? And
Yes, there's a couple of them, two in particular. One of which we had a sibling who was actually caring for their younger sibling.
uh-huh.
And they had just finished high school and trying to figure out what they wanted to do with their life. And they started the family CNA program. And as they got through that, they realized, you know what, this is actually what I want to do as a career. And so that person has gone on to go to nursing school and has really started that process in their life, which is a really cool thing because you get that CNA license and you're already caring for your family member. But this it can actually really boost the careers of others as well. Um, I have one other I have who they're currently in, and she said that her, oh gosh, I wish I had it in front of me to read to you right now, but she said that her son, who I want to say is 17, he's so excited to turn in and become an adult at 18. She said a year ago she was not able to really leave her house. She was not financially able to keep her car insured so she can bring her kiddo to the therapies that he needed. And with this, she's able to be more financially stable and get him to the therapies that he needs. And she's seeing all the progress with him, being able to interact more clearly and really making progress and hitting those milestones that she wasn't sure he'd ever be able to reach.
Oh, I like that. That
Yeah.
is fantastic because it's not always a parent or a grandparent that would be able to do the care. And I've not heard of anything like that. That's fantastic. And I'm a career counselor. So, what a fantastic way to direct a young person who has interest, let them try it out and be with their sibling in the home.
Absolutely.
What else have you got? Is there anything that we haven't talked about?
I think that pretty much sums it up. Like I said, we're bringing on IHSS, which is a new piece, which we are very excited about, and um, we just ultimately we care about our families. We don't want our families to feel like another number in the system, and we want to make it possible for them to be able to be home and providing the best care for their families as possible.
Well, it's really a wonderful program, and thank you so much for taking the time to be
Absolutely.
here with us today. It sounds like you're pretty busy.
Yes.
So I do appreciate that and all the information that you shared. And yes, thank
Awesome.
you.
Yeah. Thank you so
Good afternoon. Welcome to the SWAP online agency resource. I'm Tamara Clark with Pikes Peak BOCES School to Work Alliance program. We are here today with Abby Sampson with Care Options for Kids. Hi, Abby.
Hello, thank you for having me. Super excited.
Absolutely. Abby,
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about your role at Care Options for Kids?
Yes, definitely. So I am the Director of Business Development at Care Options for Kids for our nursing program, so family caregiver services with CNA and IHSS, as well as private duty nursing. And then under the larger Care Options for Kids umbrella, we also do all the in-home therapies that I can get to in a second. But basically, long fancy terms saying I run around Colorado connecting families to services.
Excellent. What specific age group and population do you serve?
Definitely. So our therapy programs are geared towards 21 and under. So we see all types of different diagnoses and needs for our occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy. And then our family caregiver program is for all ages. So if you're caring for someone 21 and under, but they don't age out, and you can be caring for an adult or other loved one.
Excellent. Can you tell us more about the benefits a client can receive from your program?
Definitely. So I'll touch on maybe a benefit for each. So for our therapies, there are so many benefits. The goals are, to get towards that independence, whether in speech, physical movement, or activities of daily living. So those benefits really are endless and are really tailored to whatever, you need. And then for our family caregiver program, it's a wonderful program where you can actually be paid to care for your loved one with disabilities or other needs. So, I mean, you're doing the work anyways. You might as well get that training for it, get a free CNA license, get that compensation, get paid. It's a wonderful program. And then your loved one, you have that ability to spend time with them and they can work on their independent goals as well. So, there really are endless benefits for all of the different programs.
Good, thank you. What geographical areas do you serve in southern and or the eastern plains of Colorado?
Yes, so we are all over, primarily working from Fort Collins down to Pueblo. So we have a lot of that southern front range, not too far south of Pueblo, but we do cover all like El Paso County, and a lot of, all of Colorado Springs, Monument, and those greater southern areas of Colorado.
Excellent. How does someone qualify for your services and do you require specific insurance?
Yes. So for our therapy side, we take all kinds of insurance, whether it's Medicaid, private insurance. There are a ton. So it's best to just get in contact with us and see if we work with yours. And then for the family caregiver programs, they're primarily through Medicaid or Medicaid waivers. So those are a great option. And if you ever have questions on the waiver, reach out to us. We'll try and help you. Those are a great resource for all ages.
Excellent. And lastly, what is the application process like, and what are the steps needed to start to become eligible for your services?
Definitely. So on the therapy side, it's pretty simple. We can get a referral from you or from, a primary care doctor, and then we'll just work with you, make sure we take your insurances, see what you're looking for. If you're looking for school-based services, community-based, home-based, hours, all of that good stuff, and our intake team will work with you in order to staff it and work on all that fun stuff. We don't have a wait list, so we'll let you know right away if we're able to service or not. And then for the family caregiver program, it's pretty simple as well. You'd reach out to us. We would do an assessment to see if your loved one qualifies for the family caregiver program, just kind of going through what daily life looks like, all of the needs that there are on a daily basis. And then if you did the CNA program, we'd walk you through all of the steps, pay for everything. We have wonderful family advocates who will get into all the nitty gritty with you. And that's kind of it. So just reach out to us and we'll guide you through the process, no matter what service you're interested in.
Abby, thank you so much today for all this great information and teaching us more about what the Care Options for Kids can do for those in our community. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here and we're really passionate about all of our services. So we look forward to connecting with anyone and everyone. So thank you so much, Tamara.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Connell with the School to Work Alliance program, and I am joined by Noah Ullman today, and he is with Hope Enacted.
Yeah. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for having me today. And I'm really excited to
Absolutely.
be, yeah, I'm really excited to be able to share a little bit about what we do and what we do, how it can impact and help the kids and the young adults that you're working with.
That is absolutely perfect. So, my first question is because I don't think a lot of people know what a wraparound facilitator does. I do, and I think it's wonderful that that's available, but could you please walk us through that?
Yeah, so wraparound facilitation is a four-phase process that is developed based on engagement, planning, implementation, and transition. And all that just means that we start working with a family with a youth that has higher level needs. We usually that youth is involved in multiple systems of care, and we meet that youth and that family exactly where they're at. We engage them to get them going to start planning what they want to achieve with their goals and their needs. And after we plan for their goals and their needs, we put together a team of professionals, natural supports, which are people that are in the community, other family members outside the nuclear family, and putting together that team. We collaborate and brainstorm together, goal by goal, on what the family wants to achieve. So, a large part of what wraparound is too is taking what's currently happening with families where a bunch of professionals from different modalities are telling the family what they need to do, and we flip the conversation and the orientation of the conversation to be around what the family wants to achieve, and the family is letting the professionals know what they want to achieve, and getting everyone on board under the same roof, one goal at a time, and doing that through collaboration.
Okay. No, that's fantastic. I've been through that process a couple of times with young people, and I'm not really sure where to begin. How does that get started? How do people find out about your services besides what we're doing now? What does that look like going about utilizing your services?
Yeah, so usually we'll get connected with a family through a case management agency in El Paso County and some of the surrounding counties. The CMA is the Resource Exchange, and the Resource Exchange Care Coordinator will identify a youth's needs on a Medicare waiver to be fitting of the Children's Habilitation Residential Program waiver. And once they identify the needs as such, that waiver allows us the opportunity to be able to work with that youth and family. And that's primarily where we're accessible right now, is through the resource exchange, through the chirp waiver, and then being given a referral for that family after the fact. But moving forward in summer 2025, there's a lot of initiatives being led by the state and other partners in in communities across Colorado to expand our care coordination models and get them to be more accessible to youth and families and adults at large. And that just means that instead of just being accessible through case management agencies and on specific Medicaid waivers, we should be able to be accessible to those on Medicaid at large through the regional accountable entities, such as CCHA in the El Paso region and county.
Okay, well, I see that you have a website,
Yeah.
and that's always great. It's paramount for people to find information, find out more about you. Also, I'm wondering, do educators, the caseworkers in the schools necessarily know about you? Can we help get the word out? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a really great start is how we can just be more known everywhere and anywhere. And that would have a lot to do with for the future, being able to be accessible and Medicaid at large. But right now, for anyone watching this, for anyone interested, if you do work with a youth and family that is on the CHIRP waiver, that could use that extra layer of support of having a more intensive care coordination model utilized for them, then we're here and we're ready to work with them. We also know of several other agencies that facilitate the wraparound process that are amazing too, that if we're full on a caseload, we can also refer out to. And so there really should never be uh, a minimization of being able to spread the word and everything. It's just right now the chirp waiver is so specific that hopefully we're able to address the needs of more and more people who could benefit from wraparound starting summer 2025. So yeah, if people who are educators, who are those you're referring to, utilize this video, our website, we can also supply you with physical brochures and marketing materials, even like pens, things like that. It's just great to spread the word.
Okay, that's great. It sounds like we do have to start with TRE services, though.
Yeah, yeah. So a family would either be in the process of working with TRE and starting that process. They could have already been working with TRE for a long time and just learning about what wraparound is. And they could really be at anywhere of that process, or they could even be on the very verge of that process where the family doesn't even know what TRE is yet, but someone gives them that referral, and then from there they learn about what wraparound is, as well as the other services that are going to be available to them once they get set up with TRE.
Oh, that's fantastic. And of course, TRE is also going to be part of this compilation. They'll be on the filming of this.
Great.
So that's how they come about. They get the waivers through TRE. So tell me about outcomes and what that looks like. How do you know when you're working with a family that you've reached your goals? What does that
Mhm.
look like? I mean, you've got this wonderful collaborative team, and then all of a sudden it just goes away. What what does that look like?
Yeah, so success is really defined by what the family defines success as. So the professionals are there to support, but we empower and bolster the family voice and choice so that they define success. We also, through wraparound, used to be had a statewide supervision level of what was called high fidelity. So at the end of each phase, engagement, planning, implementation, transition, there would be reports sent out to everyone involved for them to rank how the process is going, what they see as also what everyone would see as success, not just the family then too, so that there could be like an overarching level of supervision. And then this at the state level, right here, right now, actually, the models are changing from what we were doing for the past 5+ years to a new national model called NWIC. And that's just going to look like a different level of supervision for defining like how we orient around successful outcomes. And to answer another part of your question too, when we start with a family and engagement, we're really looking to just like figure out what they need, what definitions even go into what their needs are, what their goals are. But a lot of the time throughout this process, we're empowering the family to take over the wraparound process too, so that by that transition phase, they feel that they have the skills and the tools necessary to facilitate the meetings, to work with the professionals in a new light, to do everything in a way that really empowers the nuclear family so that the facilitator could be phased out. And that's really a huge goal of wraparound, and a big part of at least the theory of wraparound's definition of success is that the family gets to transition phase in a way where they feel like they can lessen external supports because their internal is doing so well
Mhm.
compared to where they felt they were at. And measuring success also has to do with, in the engagement phase, we ask families what their vision is for their family and how confident they feel like they're at it in that current moment, and how confident they feel like they could be at it in the next year or two. And then we look back at those numbers in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, and we analyze from there as well.
Okay. I like that. I like that very much. I think That's important that it can continue, and that there's training involved for the families. And at what age might the wraparound facilitation begin?
Yeah, so usually when behaviors of youth start to become uh, overwhelming for the family, overwhelming for the school system, enough where the youth is starting to get into trouble, where there is an identification of external supports being necessary to support that youth's well-being. So as early as 5 years old, I've really seen could be the start of wraparound supports, and that can go all the way to adulthood. I mean, wraparound has been a model that's been utilized for adults coming out of incarceration, for adults with higher level needs as well. So the start can really be as young as like 5, and it can go all the way into adulthood.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Mhm.
That's fantastic. So how long have you been in this role as a wraparound facilitator?
Almost 2 years now, and it has been something that I've always seen as a need in this
Mhm.
field and in this work. I started working in residential treatment, and we would do really great work and great things for the kids in our care. They would really thrive and prosper in our care, and we would see a lot of recidivism anywhere from a week or two from them leaving treatment to like months, even years after, of just like falling back in the same patterns because they're going back to the same environments, and there was no one there to really address what their needs needed to be coming out of residential, going back into the community. So not only do we work with youth to support keeping them in the home environment, but we also work with youth from those settings coming from a residential setting to support them getting back into the home environment. So, to answer your question, I've been doing this for 2 years, but I've seen the need for a really long time, and I'm glad to be able to fulfill that need now too in this role.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm
Mhm.
so impressed, and I love the name of your program. It just
Yeah,
speaks volumes as to what you do. It's
thank you.
fantastic. Yeah, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think we might want to cover today to get
Uh,
more information out?
Yeah, no, I think that hits a lot of the keynotes. And then if you attach our contact information to
Yeah,
wherever this is going to be most prominent, and just for anyone to feel confident and comfortable reaching out to us, asking us questions, even if we can't support you directly with wraparound, but could help family find a service that they're looking for, or help in even um, uh, any of those ways, then we're happy to do that as well.
that's fantastic. And we'll certainly share that information. So
Great.
thank you so much for taking the time to explain all of this to me. And I'm really excited to share this information with a lot of the families and the young people and educators that we serve. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth Connell with the School to Work Alliance program, and today I am joined by Fabian Mendoza with PASCO. Hi, Fabian.
Hi. Um, like you mentioned, I'm Fabian. I'm the outreach coordinator for PASCO here in the El Paso County area down to Pueblo.
Okay, that's great. And I know you also have an office in Denver, is that correct?
We do. We actually are based out of Denver, and so we're moving further south, just pretty much working across the I-25 um, and Front Range.
The Front Range. Does
Yeah.
that include the Eastern Plains as well?
Yes, some counties out east. Yes. There's a
Okay,
lot of them. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but yes, out east
that's
is
okay. I'm really just referring to El Paso County, so that's fantastic.
perfect. Perfect.
So what does PASCO stand for?
Personal Assistance Services of Colorado.
And I never knew that. So
Yeah,
thank you so much. So many acronyms out there.
so many.
So tell me a little bit about your agency and how it helps persons with disabilities and their families.
Sure. I'll try to be quick. So PASCO was actually founded in 1992. Our founder is Barry Rosenberg. He's a huge disabilities advocate. Um, he was part of an organization, advocacy group called Gang of 19. Some people may or may not have heard of them. One of the things that they're most famous for is taking a city bus in Denver and parking it across I-25 and holding it essentially hostage for 4 days.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so to raise awareness that city transportation at that time did not have accessibility for wheelchairs. So because of some of the acts and some of the advocacy from our founder, we have accessible transportation for city buses. I'm sorry. And so yeah, that's kind of one of the really cool stories of Pasco and our founder. Again, from 1992, that's when we were founded, and then in 2001, Pasco actually created the Parent CNA program for the state of Colorado. So we have been working on that program since 2001. 2003, Pasco was actually the organization that was the pilot for in-home support services, which is IHSS. That's another service provided through waivers. That is going to change this year. In the summer, IHSS, all you're going to need is Medicaid. You won't need a waiver. And so Medicaid or Pasco works with the Medicaid population. We service all 10 Medicaid waivers. So we are able to truly support all ages, from children to adults, adults to seniors. Um, we, again, caregiver program, parent CNA. So we also specialize in transition again from children to adults, which could be a very difficult time, especially
right.
with the change in waivers. And some of those waivers you have to start years ahead in order to get folks to the appropriate ones. And so, yeah, we have a CNA program. We do pay for 2 CNA licenses for per client. So that's great. Whether like with a child, if it's the mom and the dad that both need and want to have their CNA, we are able to uh, get that covered for them. Also, we are again IHSS. Um, Pediatric Personal Care in 2016. It's a program that PASCO created as well for PASCO itself. So these are for like folks and kids that still need support but don't qualify for a waiver necessarily. Um, so I'll use like autism for example. Autism is a very large spectrum, and so you may or may not qualify for a waiver. But let's say you don't qualify, but you still need some of those supports. Um, with doctor's orders, you were able to get on this specific program to get those supports. Um,
Well,
and
that's
again, the
wonderful.
only thing with yeah, and so it helps with the folks that don't necessarily qualify fully for those waivers. But the only caveat with that is that it can't be the parent. So it's a very underutilized program. It could be a sibling that's older than 18, but it could also be an aunt and uncle, a good friend of the family, so on and so forth. It just can't be the
Oh,
um,
okay. Is that a law?
I don't know exactly why, and so again, there had to. I really don't know, to be honest with you,
That's
why
okay.
that is. But it's a again that program specifically just for Pasco. So it was just something that was created. Pasco is really big on trying to be the first and just create opportunities where they don't exist. So
Right.
yeah, so it's in specific just for us at that program.
Well, that's wonderful. You've already answered a lot of my questions.
Good,
I was
good.
curious about the mostly about the geographic area that you serve,
Okay,
and that aligns with really who we're serving and who we're reaching out to today.
okay.
Um, how does someone qualify for your program? You said Medicaid waiver.
Right,
Is
right.
there another form of insurance or something that someone may use?
So it's mostly Medicaid waivers. They could have Medicaid and Medicare. A lot of folks, especially it's more of the senior population that have both insurances. But in order to get our services, yes, it would be through the Medicaid waiver. And the state of Colorado, I'm sure you probably already know this, but like there's 10 waivers, and we are able to support all of those. So whatever that need is, as long as they qualify for that waiver, we are able to support.
Okay, that's wonderful. And I think the waiver system is a bit confusing. So if
Very.
someone calls you and they're really starting at the very beginning of this process, can you help them with the steps so that they can get that? Or do
Yes,
you
absolutely.
refer them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually work really closely with the Resource Exchange. They're the ones that actually service the waivers, and so they're the case management agency for
Okay.
the El Paso County area, Teller, and all the way down to Pueblo now. And so they're the ones that are going to get those waivers running. And so we work really closely with them. We're actually in the TRE building, located in the TRE building. So we work really hard to collaborate with that team to make things a little bit easier and as effortless as possible because it is a very, very, very long process for specific waivers. If someone does call into our or gets referred to us, our care navigation team at that point does an assessment. If A lot of the times people don't know that they're on waivers, and so we're able to pull it up and be like, hey, you actually already have a waiver and get things going. But if they're not, we're able to at that point do an assessment and see if it's something that we can pursue, and if they do, let's say, qualify for a waiver, we can start some of that stuff, some of that process by reaching out to TRE, and then at that point TRE would take it from there. But our care navigation team is very well versed and educated in that arena, and so
Mhm.
absolutely we can support. I'm sure that was longer than you expected, but
Oh
short
no, that's
short answer,
that's
yes.
totally fine. Like I said, it's very confusing, and I
Yes,
think
very
people just want to
confusing.
understand there's support for that, and
Yep,
not to be too concerned about that because there are people to help with that process.
right.
Um, how long does it take for someone to become eligible? Is that, you know,
So
atypical?
that
You can't really answer that,
so
or
that varies. That varies. So it really just depends. So um it depends on the approval of the waiver, and then at that point there's like assessments that need to be done from the agency, from the resource exchange, and again, depending on the waiver, sometimes it's I think the fastest we've seen is 2 months, sometimes it's six, it's been up to a year. So it really just depends on how complex each case is. But it does take some time. Um, but it's easier when people are already on the waiver. Um, but even then it'll take a couple of months before everything takes place. But again, our staff works very diligently with trying to get all the documentation and connecting with the case management agency to make sure that we get everything going as soon as possible.
well, that is fantastic. I'm really glad that we talked about the timeline
Yeah,
because it is kind of discouraging for people sometimes, but
yeah,
that's why we're doing this, right?
right,
To get the
right.
word out that it is
Yeah,
a process and it takes time.
yeah,
So the
yeah.
sooner the better.
Yeah, the sooner the better. And again, also like if people have questions, some people just don't know. Again, our staff is very well versed and can guide you and guide the folks to where they need to go and answer those questions for you guys.
Okay, well that's fantastic. I want to thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Um, I don't know. I don't think so at this point. I did not nothing off the top of my head, but no, just
Okay.
again, we pride ourselves on just even information. We um to the community, and just supporting where we can. So even if it's just a question, if you're not a PASCO client or anything like that, please reach out. We are very, very happy to support and answer any of those questions, and get everyone just on the right track, because we're all here with the same goal, and that's to support our community.
Thank you so much for giving us some of your time today and sharing that important information so that we can connect people to your services. I really appreciate your time.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for reaching out. And of course, any questions, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me or our PASCO.
Okay, and we will include your contact information after this filming. It'll be on the next slide. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so I'm here today with Team Select, and if you'd like to introduce yourself so our audience knows who we're talking to.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Jack. I'm the Director of Operations here for Team Select Home Care for our Colorado Springs location.
And I'm Christina. I'm a relationship manager in the same range.
All right, nice to meet you. Okay, so just to get started, what specific age group or population do you serve?
Yeah, so we actually we offer services for essentially any patient age. So we can have a situation where there could be a pediatric patient who is just coming out of, say, the NICU from the hospital that we're able to provide services for. We also offer services up to geriatric patients. So it really depends on the type of service that the patient is requiring and the assessment that we do for those types of patients. But for all of the services that we do offer, there is no limitation for age for any of those services.
Okay. And what geographical area do you serve in the southern and eastern plains of Colorado?
Yep. So here in our Colorado Springs location, we're able to provide services for El Paso and Teller County currently.
And how does someone qualify for your services? Do you require a specific type of insurance?
Yeah, great question. So in order to qualify for services, there's essentially like a two-part aspect of that. So for your question about insurance, yes, so the primary demographic that we service for all of the services that we offer is primarily patients who do have Medicaid as their primary insurance. We are able to work with a couple other commercial type private insurances. One of them, for example, would be TRICARE. I know in the Colorado Springs area, there is a larger amount of individuals that are covered by TRICARE. We're able to accept that as well. And then, of course, we do accept private pay clients as well. We also, in order to qualify for services as well, too, they do have to clinically qualify. So let's say, for example, if a patient is in need of services and they do have, let's just say, for example, Medicaid as their insurance, it's active, it's good to go. We would then go out and do a clinical assessment on them to just determine and assure the state that this individual, even though they are under Medicaid, is qualified and is requiring the services that we would be providing. So once all that's taken care of, that's when we can accept the patient and begin providing services for them.
Okay. And what does the application process look like? What are the steps from what's the first step and go from there on becoming eligible for services?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So really, it's hard to essentially pin down a very formal process. We get referrals from hospitals, from facilities, from word of mouth. So we're really able to operate and assist essentially any way we get that information, from the patient, whether again it's from their provider, from a family friend, or whatever the situation is. But if an individual, let's say, is curious about our services and they're wondering if they qualify, the steps to go about doing that, what we would best recommend is for them just to call our office. Our office number is 719-277-6697. And what they would do then, and again, we have people call in all the time, just curious, right? They're not too sure how to start, but that's what we're here for. So if we do get a call and someone is curious about services they could potentially qualify for, what services we offer, and primarily too, a lot of questions do stem from that family CNA program. So, if say a mom of a kiddo who she's curious if that kiddo qualifies for services and how she could go about becoming a CNA through Team Select and then be paid to provide that care to her child, we're able to essentially answer any questions they have. So we're able to start from the beginning if they're not enrolled in Medicaid. We were able to help them through that whole process to get them the resources to begin that application process, work with them through any hurdles. We are able to answer also questions clinically if that patient would be deemed, appropriate for, let's say, CNA services, or would they be best suited for nursing services. So we're able to get both parts of that in. So help them with their insurance, help them with any clinical questions. But the best first step is to just give our office a call, and we're happy to answer anything else from there.
So, can you tell us about the benefits a client could receive from your program?
Absolutely. So it depends on what capacity that client is in. So let's say, for example, if a patient is receiving services under that family CNA program, so then that would be then a loved one, mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever that relationship is. If they're the ones providing that care, we look at it, of course, as being a client, but also a whole family, right? Because it's that whole family dynamic. What that client can expect from us, if they're in that family CNA capacity, is, of course, customer service, consistent communication, RN oversight on all of those cases. So we do offer 24/7 on-call answering service. So we're able to answer anything operationally, anything clinically. So that client, even though they might have a loved one caring for them as a CNA, that client and the employee who is the loved one can be rest assured that if there is ever a situation where they're not too sure what to do, something might be outside of the scope of practice, and if they just have a question, we do have RN oversight on all of those cases, so we're able to answer those questions quickly at all times, which allows the client as well as the employee to be rest assured, if anything like that comes up. And then if we have patients who don't, or who are receiving services that, maybe they're nursing services that is not provided by a family member, those same services are offered to them as well too. So we have an RN oversight on all of those cases. We have timely employee documentation. So if there's any questions we have regarding the care plan, we're able to address those as well. And then also too, with our clinical staff and our operational staff, if, let's say, for example, a patient goes into the hospital, we maintain that communication with them or a family member throughout that entire process to make sure that once they know that they're going home from the hospital, we're able to resume care as soon as possible. So they don't have to worry about, hey, I'm getting home from the hospital on Friday. Is my nurse going to be there, or is my nurse going to be there to fill my medication or something like that? We have that consistent communication to ensure the continuity of care, to not let any of that lapse, which really helps our clients out as well as our employees reduce hospitalizations and keep the patients at home where they're most comfortable.
Nice. All right. So is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to share about your program or agency?
Sure. I think just to go over all of the services that we do provide. Of course, I know I touched on, I think, all of them, but we do provide the family CNA services again. So that's a big program here in the state of Colorado, with the allowance of having a family member or a loved one provide care within the scope of a CNA. And it's really a cool program because if someone is interested in that, let's say, for example, a parent calls in, we do say their child, doesn't have to be a child, just a loved one, but for intents and purposes, using a child, if they do have Medicaid coverage, they do clinically qualify for services. We would go out, do an assessment of the patient, and then we would determine how many hours a day that they would qualify for CNA services. And what's really cool is we offer, we send all of our employees who are going to become a CNA through school at no cost to them. So they would work with our family navigator. They would be enrolled in a school of their choice, whichever works best for their schedule. We have all in-person classes. We have hybrid options available. So really just dependent on what works best for that family, we're able to enroll them in at, again, no cost to them. So we're able to utilize those resources that we do have to provide the best care and options for that family. We also offer intermittent nursing visits. So again, that could be if somebody is interested in having someone help them, let's say with their insulin management, we can do that. We could have a nurse in the home up to 4 times a day, 7 days a week to really make sure that these patients are taking their insulin on a consistent basis. We also offer intermittent nursing visits for, even if individuals need, say, a biweekly medication box refill, right? So we're able to come in and help out with those types of things. Wound care as well, catheter changes, stuff like that. And then we're also able to offer private duty nursing services. So this would be a little bit different from the CNA or family CNA services that I had spoke about a little bit earlier. This would be more for patients who do require a higher level of care. So a nurse would be in the home, and that would be for a longer duration of time. So instead of having someone in, maybe once a week or once every other week, or having, CNA level of care, this would be more so, 6, 8, 10, 12, up to even 16 hours at a time. It could be during the day, it could be overnight. Again, whatever the patient is looking for, we're here to provide. So on the spectrum of care, it's maybe lower acuity type care all the way to higher acuity type care. We're able to offer services for them as well. So we're trying to cover all of our bases here to ensure that anyone who is looking for care in the home, we're able to provide those services for them.
Nice. So what's it like being the in the relations part?
Well, I get the chance to not only meet our families, but also work with them in ensuring that they have the proper care, working with the clinical team to provide them with a CNA that can provide the cares if a family member is not available, and getting the opportunity to get to know them on a personal level and provide them with someone who's a good match.
All right, so I think we covered some good ground and gave some really good information. And I appreciate that you put the number in there so that if they have any additional questions, they can for sure give you a call.
Sure, of course.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much again for keeping us in mind. This was super fun. And if there's anything else on our end that you need, just let us know.
All right, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Hi, so today with SWAP, we are talking with Ginger Stringer from TRE, the Resource Exchange. We're just going to do our little informational video. So the first question would be, what specific age group and population do you serve with TRE?
The Resource Exchange serves children and infants birth to 3 through their early intervention program, as well as beyond that through the lifespan. So essentially birth through the lifespan.
Perfect. Okay. And what geographical areas do you serve in the southern and eastern plains of Colorado?
Every county has a case management agency that does the same things that we do. Our assigned counties, if you will, are El Paso, Park, Teller, and Pueblo counties. Developmental Pathways serves Elbert County. So I know the Eastern Plains, they are under that umbrella. So if they're in those counties, they would need to go to Developmental Pathways.
And how does someone qualify for your services, or do you require special insurance, things like that?
To qualify for the services, for any of the waivers or the Medicaid supports and services that are available through the home community-based service waivers, Those are those waivers that serve individuals 3 years old through the lifespan. And there's a developmental disability determination that has to be established, as well as a functional eligibility, how well that person can function without those supports and services. And typically we need a medical information page from the doctor that is for those long-term services and supports, and it will have a listing for the diagnostic codes. So medically, they need that. And there's also a financial eligibility piece that's included in qualifying. So the financial eligibility, even if it's a child, has to be established to qualify for any of those services. It is a bit of a process, and I know that it can take a lot of time, but it is worth it once you get through that process. No insurance is required. They don't have to have a certain level of insurance or Medicaid or no insurance. For children birth through 3, through the early intervention services, those are at no cost and no copays at all. So insurance is not required and referrals are not required by a doctor. Anyone can call in and get established for those early intervention services.
And so for the process, would they just call your office and fill out an application?
At the Resource Exchange, I'm really grateful for COVID in this respect, because we have been able to take our intake information and a form online. So if you go to tre.org, at the very top of the page, you'll see the intake form for services for individuals over 3 years of age and the birth to 3 services. So you can click on that and complete that intake form, and you will get a call within 3 business days, and the process gets rolling. As far as the entire process, depending on what your needs are for the individual, it can be for early intervention, it's very quick, and for those children birth to 3. For the Medicaid waivers, the home community-based service waivers, HCBS waiver, those can take 6 to 9 months to 12 months, and it really depends on the information that's needed and what waivers they're trying to get onto. I would recommend, if an individual is 14 years old and they have an intellectual and developmental disability, that they get signed up with TRE to get on the wait list. There is a comprehensive waiver that is the only waiver in the state of Colorado that has a wait list. And that wait list is presently at 10 to 15 years as a wait. So if you get on at 14, then when you're 24, there's 10 years. And hopefully that will change one day, but as of right now, it is the only waiver that has a wait list. All the rest, you can go through that process and be done.
Good. So the earlier, the better.
The earlier, the better. Yes.
All right. Okay. So so we just did the application process and what that looks like for eligibility. So can you tell our viewers about the benefits a client could receive from your program?
Well, with early intervention, that to me is one of the best times to intervene for a child, because your brain is 80% developed by 3 years old. So if you get those therapies and services before the child turns 3, that dramatically improves their need for services later on, where they may not need anything, or they may need dramatically less than they would have without that. And I am a parent of an individual with a developmental disability who's now 27, and he did not get that early intervention. And his needs are pretty significant. Whereas if he had gotten that early intervention, it would have dramatically changed the needs that he has now. So, speaking as a parent who's gone through this process, the benefit to having these waivers and getting on them is really to help them actually live in the home in the community rather than being placed in an institution or a nursing facility. It allows funding so that if you're a parent caregiver like myself, you can get that funding to support your child. If one day when I'm no longer on this planet, it will be able to provide for him when I'm gone to meet the needs that he has in the community. And there's certain things that are allowed within the different waivers, again, depending on the type of waiver that you need. And you can find those if you put in your search engine, Colorado waivers, and it'll pop up under the home community-based service waivers. And if you look at them, they will break down the different waivers and all the things that are allowed under that. So for example, with my son, if he was living in his own apartment, and he needed support with making sure he was dressed appropriately, like not wearing shorts in the winter, making sure he had clean clothes, and making sure he was shaved because he has difficulty shaving, then that would be able to pay for someone to come into his apartment and make sure those things are taken care of. Make sure he has groceries, has a breakfast, have meals, and make sure his needs are easy to access for him. So I think that that's probably the biggest way that I've seen the waiver. I know with others, it's been, if they have much more significant needs, providing that 24/7 care for that individual, if it's a child or an adult, being able to support them so that they're able to live in a home setting.
All right. So, is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to share about your program?
I think one of the other great things that we have, there is a family support program for those individuals that don't qualify for the Medicaid waivers. So the family support program is a pot of money, if you will, from the state general fund. And it changes every year depending on the funds that are in the state available to those individuals. But some of those monies can help families if they need to pay for respite for someone to come into their home and help assist with taking care of their child while they go to the grocery store or what have you. Or sometimes some of those funds can be utilized for memberships at the YMCA for the family so that they can all go together as a family. So that's a really nice benefit. The other is the respite programs that the Resource Exchange has. And they are amazing. And respite, if you don't know what respite is, it's really giving parents or caretakers a break and the individual a break because they don't like to be with the caretaker all the time too. So but we have something called break time, which is available for 3 months old up to 21 years. And they do that twice a month on a Friday night and a Saturday morning. And that is available for individuals that have a disability and their families. So if a family has 10 kids and they have one of them with a disability, all 10 kids can go to break time. And they have one-on-one support for the individual with disabilities. They have a nurse on staff. They have a behavior analyst. And it's just so nice for families to have that opportunity because, as I mentioned, I have a child with a developmental disability, and I did not have friends that were willing to stay with him they were willing to stay with my daughter, but not with my son because of his behaviors. So it really is so wonderful to be able to have somewhere to go. The other piece of that is there is something called gathering time, which is for those older adults, 21 to 35 years, who have a developmental disability. They meet once a month and they do themed events. So for Valentine's coming up, they'll have a Valentine's themed event, and that's fun. Then we also have cooking time, which is a opportunity for teens and preteens with developmental disability to learn some cooking skills. They also allow, I believe, up to 21 years old for that, so that they can learn how to use kitchen tools and learn how to cook recipes. And that's such a great independent skill. And then finally, they have something called Our Time, which is for siblings who are younger, that are in their teens, that have a sibling with a developmental disability, to be able to meet once a month and talk about their experiences, and really to have friends that get it, because a lot of times other friends that don't have an individual with disabilities in their life, they don't understand how it may feel. And so being able to talk and have that support is really, really helpful.
Those are wonderful services.
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, that wraps up our interview. And I want to let you know that I really appreciate you doing this interview and TRE in the program. And so would you like to put a number or say the website again as we wrap up?
719-380-1100. And all the information on our website is at www.tre.org.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ginger, and have a great day.
Thank you.